A1's about inverse variation. We've talked about direct variation before. Direct variation being y equals k times x. It kind of looks like slope intercept form type of stuff. We've done it before. Inverse, if I think about that, remember, it's just y equals k over x. Okay, it's simple as a matter of inverse means to divide, direct means to multiply. So in example 1, they want us to look at the relationship and see if it's direct, inverse, or neither, and then write the model. So if I look at the y column, notice how the y's decrease. That's my hint that it might be inverse, and that's the first thing I look at. If it increases, it might be direct. So if it's decreasing, it might be inverse. Let's look at that. Well, how can I find if it is? I got to see if k is constant. So remember, inverse variation is y equals k over x. So if I'm solving for k, I'm going to multiply by x. So k should be x times y, and I need to look at each x times y and make sure it's the same. Well, the first one is 2 times 15, which is 30. Next one is 4 times 7.5, which is 30. Next one is 10 times 3, which is 30. And the last one is 15 times 2, which is 30. They all equal 30, so my k is going to be 30. So if I'm writing my equation, remember inverse variation is that. My model is y equals, we know our k is 30 divided by x. Example 2 talks about supposing x and y vary inversely. So they tell me it could say very directly, could say very inversely. And x is 4 when y equals 12. So what do I do? But again, remember, inverse variation is y equals k divided by x, not k times x. All you're doing is plugging it in. So what function models it? So I plug in y, which is 12, equals k over 4, and you solve for k. Multiply by 4. That gives me k equals 48. So what model is it? The model is y equals 48 over x. Now, when we're looking at this, make sure you copy this down. People that don't like to copy stuff down. Combined variations. Well, what do I do? So if they tell me z varies jointly with x and y, this is what you use. How about z varies jointly with x and y and inversely with another thing? So you just take and multiply together and divide by that thing it's inverse. So jointly or directly means to multiply it all. Inverse means to divide. Simple as that. Z varies directly with x and inversely with the product of wy. So z varies directly with x, that's why they get z k times x, and then inversely of the product of wy, that's why they're divided by wy. So let's take a look at example 4. It says the number of bags of grass seed N needed to reseed a yard varies directly with the area to be seeded, A, and inversely with the weight of W. The weight W of a bag of seed. If it takes 2 3-pound bags of seed, an area of 3,600 feet squared, how many 3-pound bags will it take to seed 9,000 square feet? So if we go back into the problem and we have to set up a formula, it says that N varies directly. N varies directly, that's your K, with A. So K times A, so a constant K times the area A to be seeded, and inversely with W. That's why I'm dividing by W. So now I'm going to use the first part of it to figure out what K is, because that's the only way I'm going to figure out the other stuff. So if it takes 2 3-pound bags of seed, 3-pound bags to seed an area of 3,600 feet squared, okay, well, N is 2, because that takes me 2, that's a number of bags, equals area, which is 3,600 square feet, times K, which we don't know, divided by the weight, which in this case is 3, because we're talking about 3-pound bags. So go ahead and solve, and you end up with K being, it's just calculator work, 1 over 600. So my combined variation of this, well, since K is 1 over 600, well, if I plug it in there, N is going to equal A over 600W. I mean, you could put 1 over 600 times A on top, but that's just going to end up being what that is right there. And so then you just take the new numbers and plug it in. You want to know how many bags of seed now would it take to seed 9,000 feet squared. So that's my area. So I'm running out of room, so I'm going to head over to here. And I end up being A, which is 9,000, divided by 600 times 3. And like I said, just plug in your calculator, you end up with 5 bags of seed.